All right, welcome into the Back Sports Page second round draft recap. We're gonna look at picks every 10 picks in the second round and the third round as well. So we're going to be joined by a couple of the backsportspage.com writers to discuss some of these picks that we just saw come off the board. So let's recap. At number 33, the first pick of the second round, the Jacksonville Jaguars hang on to the pick and they take Tyson Campbell, the speedy cornerback out of Georgia. He's blessed with a ton of speed. He's blessed with really good tackling ability. Just really needs to work on his ball security or his ability to go after the ball. And we're welcoming in right now. We got Tom Bennett from backsportspage.com, and right on time as we're getting ready to talk about number 34 with the Jets taking Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And you were not happy when you heard this pick come off the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to kind of understand why they went out in free agency and got not one but two wide receivers. A lot of people forget that they signed Keelan Cole, but they also
don't come on.
I'm not saying
Keelan Cole is.
I'm not saying he's
no
a starter, but he's depth, and he's a guy you're paying $5.5 million for this year. Then obviously you've got Corey Davis. You drafted Denzel Mims in the second round last year. And you still have Jamison Crowder, who's taken a $10.5 million cap hit this year. And apparently, from everything I'm reading on the chat boards, Moore's supposed to challenge Crowder, which, like, yes, that's good. And I think that long term, that's better. But that's $10 million that you're having on the bench. So if they end up trading him to trade back up, I guess that's fine if that's their plan, but it just doesn't feel like it. So, yeah, I was a little upset. I would have really liked to see them take Tevin Jenkins or JOK, who is still on the board, surprisingly.
I can't believe you see the shirt that I got on right now.
Yeah,
I cannot believe Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is still on the board. Just so you know, if that it's only a $1 million dead cap if they decide to release Jason Crowder, which I think the writing is on the board that may be coming now. It's going to open up salary for not only this year but next year as well.
right.
And I think Jamison Crowder is a very decent comp to what Elijah Moore is going to bring you. He's also a lot healthier, and I think he's a bit faster. So if that's the route they go, that they're going to then save the money by releasing Jamison Crowder, I think Elijah Moore has all the talent to step in and be the third guy on this team.
Yeah, that's kind of been the only thing I keep telling myself at this point is like they're going to have to move on from Crowder after this. I'm hoping that they're using him as a trade piece potentially to move back into one of the rounds today. Not saying you're going to get back in the second, but if you can get back into the third by trading away a fourth from next year, like that fourth that we got from Minnesota last night, and Crowder to get a third, I think that might be okay. I don't know how that works out in your trade chart, but that's just an idea or something. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I actually like to pick. So I have Elijah Moore as my wide receiver number 6 in this draft, which is actually 3 spots ahead of where I had Kadarius Toney, who the Giants took at number 20 last night. So I think Elijah Moore is probably the best slot receiver in this draft.
Yeah, that's the only kind of thing that I keep telling myself. I've talked to that with my father. Like he is going to be electric and explosive out of the slot, which is good for and the fact that everyone's comparing Zach Wilson to like the arm strength coming out of college. Like I've seen a ton of stuff saying he's going to just be chucking it down the field and stuff like that. So getting a guy like Moore to kind of like be that speedy guy to get open down the field is going to be very beneficial for his progression.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go down. And now this one, the two of us, we are hosts of the Sunday Morning Fantasy show that you can find part of the Back Sports Page network of shows. So again, make sure you're subscribing on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, wherever you got. Will be there. So Javonte Williams, he ends up with the Denver Broncos, and so I have Melvin Gordon in my dynasty league.
I did too.
And so this one was a startup. So I actually made a bunch of trades. So I actually have it in a super flex. I have the 101, the 106, the 111, and the 202 and the 207.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you guys.
I gave up Nick Chubb to get some of these picks. I also have an extra first rounder next year. So I put a lot into my drafting ability, and I'm looking at 106 or 111 to be a sweet landing spot for Javonte Williams to be a handcuff to Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams, to me, there isn't much of a drop off in terms of what you're going to get in terms of productivity between Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
I loved watch, and mind you, I hate North Carolina with a passion. I hate the University of North Carolina. I love watching Javonte Williams film.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about him for a couple weeks now. Like, he's literally just Nick Chubb Jr. Like, he literally can. He's not as powerful as a running back, but he's a little.
Oh no, I actually think he's more powerful than Chubb. Maybe a little slower, but I think he's more powerful.
All right, that's fair. I think.
So watch, and I know you're going to see a lot of Michael Carter also, but go watch the Javonte Williams film against Miami. They put up, the two of them put up over 500 combined rushing yards, and there's one run that he just absolutely truck sticks. Like, yeah, I mean, he is so fun to watch.
Yeah,
and to be honest, there's going to be 1 year of a committee next in 2022. That backfield is all Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I was actually I have. In one of my leagues, it's a keeper league. I ended up winning the whole thing, and we get two keepers. The way it works is you got to keep them for 2 years after you draft them. One the same round that you had drafted them, and then the next year you cut the round in half, so a fourth becomes a two, such like that.
Yeah.
I actually picked up Melvin Gordon in free agency. The price was a little steep, in my opinion, going into today at a second. I was considering it because he had no competition around him. There's no way in heck that I'm touching him now, because Javonte Williams, like you said, he's going to take over that backfield.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually, by the time we hit week 10 or something like that, if we start to see Javonte Williams with the larger timeshare there in Denver. Then we have the Miami Dolphins. And the Broncos also traded up for him. And there's always a lot of history between teams that trade up for these players and then their willingness to give them more touches than they would have.
Right. Then that's actually the guy that I wanted the Jets to take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad the Jets that I don't have to see him in my stadium wearing the different color.
I thought he would have been a really solid second guy, or I guess even main guy to Tevin Coleman, because Coleman's not really a workhorse like that. So if Williams came in and he had Coleman be the third down back like he was in San Francisco, I thought that would have been really good.
Then at 36, the first safety comes off the board, and it's not Traven Merrig. It's Javon Holland, the safety out of Oregon. At 37, the Eagles land interior offensive lineman. I think he can be a really good center or a guard in the league. You got Landon Dickerson out of Alabama, and then the Alabama train continues. And this is such a Patriots move. They trade up. They give up 2 fourth-round picks. Christian Barmore is a quintessential Patriots pick.
100%.
I mean, he just feels like so many other guys that they've drafted in the past that have been successful, and then they move on from him a year before they fall off. The Bears end up trading up, and they get Tevin Jenkins, who, I mean, I had going in the early 20s. In fact, I actually think I had him at 19 to Washington in my final mock. So for me, this is tremendous value for Chicago.
Especially to protect Fields.
Yeah, absolutely. They're giving up almost their entire draft for a left tackle and a quarterback. Then the Falcons take another safety, and again, not Traven Merrick, Richie Grant, who I've actually heard more people have Richie Grant as their top safety than people who have Merrick. The right. Lions at number 41, the second defensive tackle off the board, Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington. He was a 2020 opt-out, but he's got tremendous inside gap penetration. His film against Stanford in 2019 he was so dominant in that game. And to round out the first 10 picks of the second round, my boy Liam Eichenberg goes over to the Miami Dolphins, where they trade up into the New York Giants pick. So here we go. Dave Gettleman finally learns that you're allowed to trade back. That's all fine and dandy. But my biggest issue is that you could have had a Rashawn Slater, you could have had a Micah Parsons in the first round. Now, I'm a little bit more lenient because you picked up an extra first-round draft pick last year. Okay.
Yes.
So passing on those guys, I'm okay. You're getting the extra first next year. But here, Azeez Ojulari was on the board. He falls to you at 42, huh?
He still might be.
Yeah, I know. He still might be there at 50. But the Giants end up trading back from 42 to 50, pick up a third round. So now they have 2 picks in the first, in the third, and the fourth next year. And it's a good thing because Dave Gettleman won't be there to select them because he'll be fired.
Hope so, man. I mean, my God, how many bad picks can you make before you get fired? Him and Ryan Pace are trying to see who can go longer without getting fired.
Yeah. I tell you what, I like what the Bears did. The Bears were very assertive. They knew what they were going. They obviously had a plan, and they executed it perfectly. They got a quarterback who started to slip, who a lot of people have as the second best quarterback in this class, and you get an offensive tackle who I had as the fourth offensive tackle, again, somewhere around 20, and they get him at 39. I like what they did.
Yeah, the planning, though, was just not the best. I mean, we saw it with Trubisky. They traded up one spot and then drafted him right after they signed Mike Glennon to a big deal. They traded for Nick Foles last year. Then they signed Andy Dalton this year for a combined $19 million. And then they're trading up and mortgaging their future not mortgaging their future, but definitely sending a lot of picks for another quarterback. It's just the planning doesn't seem to be there. Like I said, I like the pick. I think that it could work out really well for them. But Pace is just not a planning guy. He's a guy that works off the spot.
Yeah. All right. So again, make sure you are subscribing on all of the platforms. We will be back after pick 52 or 53, somewhere around there, so we can get the middle group of second round picks. Tom, thanks for hopping on, bud.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Be well.